Welcome to the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast with your hosts Griffin Palmer, CJ Hickman, Jason Cabrera, and Ryan Mitchell.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is Friday, June 15th. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast, the official podcast of thefantasyfootballfanatics.com. I'm your host, Griffin Palmer, joined by CJ the Hitman Hickman and Jason Cabrera. What's up, guys?
Yo, what's up, man? How you doing?
It's going well, man. How you doing? Welcome back. Welcome back. Jason, how you doing, bud?
Man, appreciate it.
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can't complain. It's been nice weather for a change.
I'm sure you should complain.
I could always find something to complain about, but I'm not trying to.
True words have never been spoken.
Yeah, I think you could say about most people. But anyway, welcome to the show, everyone. So today we have an amazing show for you guys today. Today we're going to be talking about our early bust candidates for your 2018 drafts. Now, these will obviously change as the players' ADPs, or average draft positions. That's what that universal industry term stands for, if you're not familiar. When their ADPs eventually change, because players are going to move up, players are going to move down, and that's going to be surrounding narratives that happen between now and the end of August. Of course, injuries, acquisitions, lots of things are going to happen between now and then in just a short period of time. But for now, we've got a couple people who we think that are going a bit early. Maybe the risk factor is a little bit too high. So we're going to kind of talk about and probably debate a couple of these guys and see some guys you might want to think twice about. So that's going to be our focal point today. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed wherever you're listening. We are a year-round podcast every Tuesday and Friday. Off-season stuff now, prepping you for the draft. And then we're here every single week giving you your ad drops, recapping the weeks, your news, your notes, all the waiver wire acquisitions you should be making, your starts, your sits, all that good stuff. And, it's what we do. We bring home as many titles as we possibly can. So that's what it's all about. That's why we do this. And if you want to support the show, help us keep these lights on, keep doing what we're doing, head over to patreon.com/thefantasyfootballfanatics. We greatly appreciate your support over there. With that being said, let's get right to it. Let's move into some of our top headlines from around the league. Guys, mandatory minicamps are started. There's actually news worth talking about. How about that?
I like it.
Hey, it's like the old days. Let's start the quarterback position as we normally do. We go down position by position. Now, let's start in Indianapolis, where quarterback Andrew Luck has been throwing high school-sized footballs, guys. We're still talking about it. He's throwing.
Yay.
It's exciting
Baby
news.
Baby step, Andrew.
Baby steps. Now, owner Jim Irsay has told reporters that quarterback Andrew Luck will not have any limitations once training camp opens. So, obviously, he's got a little while still before training camp, a little over a month. So, are we buying this? Do we think this is real? Is this believable? Are you thinking this is all a trope? What do you guys think?
Oh man. After last year, you can't believe anything anymore. I'm just gonna wait until I hear that he is in camp throwing full-size NFL footballs to his receivers, taking first-team snaps. I'll wait till that.
All right, fair enough. CJ?
October. That's when he's ready to go.
Dang.
Ever the negative one, CJ. Thank you.
Hey, realist over here.
Evidence to support your claim there. It's not good when you look at the Indianapolis Colts track record with Andrew Luck as of late. I personally,
He was right last year.
Yeah, right. I'm going to take this as a step in the right direction because in recent interviews, Andrew Luck has said that it's been more of a psychological thing than a physical thing and that he just has to get that confidence back and get the reps in. I think he should be good to go at some point during training camp and the preseason. I don't think he'll play in the preseason, but I'm taking this as a positive step. He's throwing. The owners and coaching staff are supporting him, saying that he should be good to go. I know we've heard this narrative before, but we know he's actually throwing now. We haven't heard of any setbacks yet, which is what happened last year. So I'm going to hesitantly take this as a positive note, and I'm going to not necessarily adjust my rankings yet, but I'm going to be ready to maybe move some of these guys up. Obviously, if he's there, T.Y. Hilton gets a massive boost, and that's just to start the list. So we'll see. It's something worth noting, and I can't wait until we can stop talking about it. So, yeah, Andrew Luck throwing high school-sized footballs. Not quite NFL-sized, but high school-sized. Let's go to Oakland, where the Raiders have cut recently acquired quarterback Christian Hackenberg, so that didn't last long. What was that, like a week?
Hacked again.
He according to the reports and what I heard, essentially what happened was there just wasn't enough balls in practice to go around. There's too many quarterbacks there, so they cut him, which is not a good sign. sign
there
for
Phrasing.
yeah, for a guy who was taken in the second round and being acquired by a head coach who said he thought that he could have been the number 1 overall pick in his draft to then be cut about a week later. I would say this is probably the end of the road for Christian Hackenberg. I'd be surprised if he gets much further in his career than this, but we've seen crazier things. He has visited with the New England Patriots as of this recording, so we'll see if anything comes from that. Could go from Jets to Patriots. That could be a massive step.
He might.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, he was applying for a towel boy position though. That was.
Oh, okay.
Not,
I must have missed that part of the report. Good journalism
hold my
there,
towel,
Jason.
Christian.
I can see Belichick bringing him in now and be like, hey, so how bad has it been since last time I've been there? Oh, well,
Tell me about it is over there in New Jersey.
Great.
Let's go to the New York Jets, actually, and let's talk about how head coach Todd Bowles said that the number 3 overall pick in this year's draft, a.k.a. quarterback Sam Darnold, will open training camp as the number 3 quarterback on the depth chart. So that puts him behind Josh McCown and Teddy Bridgewater. So this is the depth charts we've been working off to this point. This is not surprising, and this is what I expected, at least to start training camp. Do we think that he ends training camp as the number 3? That's the better question. So what do you guys think?
No.
He looks good. I want to start him right now.
Right now. No, I don't think he stays number 3 on the depth chart. I think that Josh McCown is going to get leapfrogged by one of these two guys, if not both of these two guys. If Teddy Bridgewater is healthy, I think Teddy Bridgewater leapfrogs Josh McCown, and I believe Sam Darnold is going to leapfrog Josh McCown either way.
See, I think talent and ability-wise, eventually I think these positions will be flipped, but I don't know if I see it happening, at least by the start of the season, because I just think they have too much invested in Josh McCown, and they're going to want to bring Sam Darnold slow. That was a great interview with Todd Bowles, by the way. I love that sarcasm.
Yeah.
Just completely.
I have never seen that man. He was the defensive coordinator for Arizona for a couple of years. I never saw that man get that passionate. That was insane.
It was so funny.
Well,
I
mean,
loved it.
it was sarcasm because I know everyone's asking him questions about, how are you excited about him for the season?
Yeah.
it was great because a lot of people around the league that I've even talked to and heard reports from, they're all like, this guy's been in the league for a long time. We've never seen him that animated. That was crazy. So that was really funny to see. If you don't know what we're talking about, look up Todd Bowles' interview cover about Sam Darnold back. What was his first rookie minicamp?
Yeah, it was rookie minicamp.
Yeah, that was hilarious. So let's go on to Cleveland, where offensive coordinator Todd Haley said that quarterback Tyrod Taylor is, quote, the leader of this team, end quote. For this year at least. Not surprised by that. They brought him in to be exactly that. So we'll see if that's the way it is by the end of the year, but I'm not surprised that's the narrative going into, the middle of June. What do you guys think about this?
I mean, pretty much. I don't see them starting what's the boy, Baker Mayfield anytime soon.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not surprising to me. I definitely expected it. So
Yeah. Jason, any thoughts? Anything to add?
I mean, it makes sense. Tyrod Taylor's been in the league a while. He's a good quarterback. I like the fact they're showing some, some respect for him. That's nice. It's something he kind of didn't get at his last team. And unless it's a drinking contest, I don't see Baker Mayfield leading this team just yet.
Oh, Jason, come on.
Hey,
the shots
you know what?
already.
Boom.
Man, all right.
No
He's drunk right now. Are you kidding me?
Oh, my gosh. This guy.
There's so much hate for
so much.
I think he's just mad that he didn't get him on his team. I think that's what the secret narrative is behind it all.
Oh, yeah. I'm so sad that he's not on my team right now. Bartenders all over Phoenix just start crying.
I mean, admitting it's half the battle, right?
Jason's going to be like post Larry Fitzgerald getting out of there. There's going to be nothing to root for.
Wasteland in Arizona.
We're gonna get. Jason's going to be like, if you guys ever seen a freaking spoof that WWE was doing. They have like this old wrestling promotion.
Oh Lord!
And it's like Fandango's character. He's like this. That's going to be Jason just showing up to the show drunk and just not adding anything to the conversation.
That was an anchor. Been scrappy.
Wow.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Just...
Quite the narrative you painted there.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
We may have just come off the rails completely at this point.
Yeah. Well, hey, guess what?
To be fair, I mean, we are already about 10 minutes into the show, so we're about due for going off the rails.
There you go.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
We're overdue, maybe. Where did we leave off? Yeah, that was the end of the quarterback news. Let's go on to some running back news, where Arizona Cardinals running back David Johnson is reportedly holding out of mandatory minicamp in an attempt to get his first big contract. Now, this isn't shocking. I mean, the guy led the league a couple years ago. It's his contract year anyway. He wants to get paid sooner than later. And it looks like it's going to happen. GM Steve Keim has said that he looks forward to, quote, rewarding the contract year running back. So, I mean, they want to do it. I mean, obviously, David Johnson wants it, so it looks like it's going to happen. Could be a nice story for all involved. So maybe not necessarily a story we're reporting on, but it's significant because this is a guy who's going top 5 in most leagues. So, Jason, this is your team. What are your thoughts, bud?
No, I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like. You know, David Johnson thinks that he deserves to be paid more. I would agree with that, and I think anyone in that organization would agree with that. He is what makes that offense go. And the good situation here is that they've got Sam Bradford for a year, maybe 2, and then they're going to have a rookie quarterback on a rookie quarterback deal. So they're not going to have to worry about the salary cap when it comes to the quarterback just yet, so they can afford to pay David Johnson a little bit more.
You know what, Jason? You're taking this a lot better than what I thought you were going to, man. I'm so proud of you.
Well, you pay the man. You pay the man. I mean, if they were like, we don't know, then yeah, I'd be a little ticked off. But no, everything coming out of the Cardinals headquarters is that they are going to pay him. It's just a matter of them getting into a room, sitting down, and discussing, and getting the details hammered out with his agent.
Man, being able to pay your quality players, that's something that must be nice. I can't wait until we're rid of Joe Flacco.
Let's just give all our money to Joe. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. And we'll give some tight ends. It'll be great.
So overpaid. Yes, it was market value.
Talking about getting bent over by a barrel. That's what the Ravens are right now.
He won a Super Bowl MVP and had a historic playoff run. He cashed in at the perfect time. And we all know this.
Did nothing.
Since then, pretty much. He's been hurt a lot lately too, which doesn't help things.
Yep.
And excuses all day for him. I don't care. I may not be the biggest Lamar Jackson fan, but I will take the savings. So, anyway. What is the Ozzie Newsome thing? 80% of the play for 20% of the value. That's what he looks for. So, yeah.
There you go.
That's what you get what you pay for.
Yeah, I'm not. That's not to say that Lamar Jackson is 80% of Joe Flacco when he's going to be in his prime, but maybe at this point in their careers, rookie.
Sure.
Anywho, back to what we're talking about, running backs. Let's go to New Orleans, where the Saints reached out to unrestricted free agent running back DeMarco Murray to bring him in for a workout/tryout.
Why?
Don't wait, CJ. But DeMarco Murray opted out because he, quote, preferred not to work out with a large group of running backs, end quote. So he opted out of a job opportunity. Now, to be fair, it was a rather large gathering. They had a couple guys there, including Baltimore Ravens former Baltimore Ravens running back Terrence West, who they did end up signing. Also present, that was accounted for, was Jamal Charles and Tim Hightower. So, crowded tryout of sorts. DeMarco Murray claims that he's still maintaining hope, and the expectation is he will sign with the right landing spot before training camp is over. We'll see. So I just thought that would be a little humorous for CJ, and of course a nice little bit of information for all the Saints fans out there, which is why there might be a Saint that I'm talking about later on today when we're talking about possible bus candidates.
Me too.
Saints, count your blessings. Count them. That's one. You got one blessing.
You did there. I see what you did there.
There you go. See?
I need a sound effect so I can do a little rim shot. Yeah, there. Anyway, let's go to the wide receiver position, where Cleveland Browns offensive coordinator Todd Haley, we're back to good old Todd, he said that he considers 2018 to be a make-or-break season for third-year wide receiver Corey Coleman. Corey Coleman just can't catch a break. Obviously, he's had some off-the-field issues and some locker room troubles, but I thought he's been pretty decent when he's been out there with what he's been surrounded by. I don't think he's been, maybe not lived up to his draft stock, but I wouldn't say he's been a bust by any stretch of the imagination.
No,
what do you guys think?
He had a quarterback problem. That's the thing. Talking about some make or break. Todd Haley, how about this is a make or break for you, guy? How about this, dude? You know what I'm saying?
I don't think it is. It's first year.
Pretty much.
I don't think he's going anywhere for a little while.
Oh, well, Cleveland, they
I mean, he does have quite
It's
the kind of narrative surrounds him of being really hard to work with. So CJ might be onto something, though his results kind of speak for themselves. I mean, I will admit. Okay, let's break it down. So Corey Coleman, he has not been great. I will admit that. So he had 10 games he played in 2016, his rookie year. He played in 9 games last year. He went from 33 catches down to 23 catches. He's been banged up. He hasn't been very good. But I thought that when healthy and out there working with what he had to work with at quarterback, he didn't look terrible. I thought he flashed. So I think that this third year is going to be hopefully when the stars align and everything kind of comes together for him. Of course, they've got a quarterback that struggles to throw anywhere near 4,000 yards currently under center. But, I mean, this offense should move, and it's definitely going to be the best offense he's been a part of. So I think that there's some truth to what Todd Haley is saying. But I think that this will be a bigger year for Coleman. I would be surprised if it wasn't. Because, I mean, last year, 23 receptions, 305 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I think it'll be pretty easy for him to top that. Wouldn't we all agree on that?
Yeah,
I would hope so.
You got it.
All right. Well, with that, let's move on. Wait. Last bit of wide receiver news. Arizona Cardinals have signed unrestricted free agent wide receiver Greg Little. Hey. No excitement at all? No excitement at all?
Just keep moving.
He was a former second-round pick, wasn't he?
Just keep going.
Could be.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be a sneaky pick. I don't have his draft stock in front of me, but I'm pretty sure
He gets an opportunity. It's wide open behind Larry Fitzgerald, so I mean, he gets his opportunity, and he could be a really nice comeback story. But I don't see it happening, to be honest.
It's like Lucha Underground over here. Another wrestling reference. You guys.
That's all that CJ has.
Yeah.
I don't know where he's gonna. So I'm looking at the official depth chart. He's not listed yet. So I'm wondering where he would fall in under.
I don't know.
Christian Kirk.
I mean, right now he's got to be 5th. I mean,
well, numerically, yeah, at the very least 5th.
Yeah.
I'm looking between who they've got listed in the starting positions for left, right, and slot. I'm wondering where he would fit in. I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting training camp. Could be a nice comeback story for him. We'll see. Last bit of news we'll talk about today. We'll go to the tight end position, where the JacksonvilleJaguars.com expects tight end Austin Severian-Jenkins to be a quote integral part of the team's offense. To that, I say yet again, duh. He has been very much over the years, and this is why he was one of those sleeper tight ends that I was targeting a lot last year. And if you had him during his healthy spurts, he was very good for you. He's a really good pass-catching tight end. So I think that in Jacksonville, for a team that could use some red zone playmakers, especially with departure of Allen Robinson, I think that he is in a good position to be. I mean, I don't think he's going to be, one of those, set him and forget him type tight ends, but he could be one of those nice boom busts against the right matchup type guys, because I think he's going to be one of the more targeted weapons in the red zone. So Blake Bortles has to throw the ball somewhere. I like Austin Severian-Jenkins this year. I don't think I'll be drafting him high. He's going to be one of those late round flyers, but yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I like it. I like that situation. I think he'll be a lot more of a weapon there than, them having Mercedes Lewis last year. I mean, of course, he's younger than him. He can be able to be a part of the offense more. And I think Blake Bortles is definitely going to be looking his way a lot more. And there's another guy in that offense I'm going to be talking about that's, just pumping my brakes on. But, so far, I mean, just off this news and just the duh comment, like you said earlier, I saw him being that guy in that offense, especially the tight end position.
I mean, I just don't see who's going to be a better option to throw jump balls to. I mean, Niles Paul's more of a blocking tight end. Leonard Fournette's not really a pass-catching back. Obviously, T.J. Yeldon's there, but he's a smaller guy. At the wide receiver position, Marquise Lee, Dante Moncrief, D.J. Chark, Rashad Green, D.D. Westbrook, Keelan Cole. Well, I see Austin Severian-Jenkins being the best jump ball option in the red zone out of probably all those guys, if I'm being honest. I don't know. Jason, what do you think?
I agree with you guys. I think that he flashed. Last year he flashed several times. It looked like he was going to be good. He looked like he was going to pull away and become a consistent tight end. This year he's with a different team. He's got an opportunity to get that consistency and keep it. So I don't know. I'm intrigued by it. I'm not intrigued enough to, like you said, to spend very high on him. I'd probably be a late round flyer for me, but I'm going to keep my eye on it.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that I'll be, because obviously I don't draft highly at quarterback and tight end with my draft philosophy. I'll be streaming him. 2 tight end systems. I'll definitely be trying to acquire him as my number 2 tight end, and I think he'll have some really nice weeks for you. So we'll see how it all plays out. Yeah, that's it for the news. With that, let's move on to our topic of the day, our early bust candidates. Now, again, expect these to change, and take all of this with a grain of salt, because a lot of this is also breaking down to maybe backfield committees, as we've been talking about the last couple shows, that are undecided, wide receiver corps, competitions at positions that are going on, new coordinators or quarterbacks or whatever that's in transition that may be affecting their draft stock. Maybe these are guys that we just think are simply being overhyped too much. I mean, there's something behind all of them, but there's a reason they're going where they're going. So we're just here to inform you. So with that, who wants to go first?
Well, I got the highest rated guy on here, so
there you go.
I'll go ahead and go first.
All right, Jason, take it away.
I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, and that's okay. I'm all right with it. I'm used to it. Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara is going number 7 in the first round. Now, here's why I have him as a possible bust. First off, the guy is rated really, really, really high. I mean, 7 in the first round, that's nuts for a third down back. Okay, and that's pretty much what he is in this offense. So that's my first problem with this. So the second problem with this is this really could possibly be one of those situations where you get a guy who had a great first year, and then suddenly all the hype hits him, and suddenly he derails. I think that could possibly happen with Alvin Kamara this year. And then, of course, he's going to be in a committee, because Mark Ingram is going to be back after his suspension, and until he gets back, they were looking around for someone to replace Ingram, and ended up with Terrence West. So Kamara can end up as a bust if you take him this high. I'm not saying he's not draftable. I'm saying I wouldn't draft him in the first round.
So are we allowed to give you some of that flack right here?
If you want to.
I do. And
why would you even ask that question, Griffin? Like anything's ever stopped you before?
I just didn't know if we wanted to wait for the viewers or how we want to go about doing this. I understand where you're coming from. And this is why actually one of the guys on my list is Mark Ingram. And so I guess we'll let's just talk about that backfield. So Mark Ingram is a guy who I have a bust who's going as the 10th pick in the 4th round. And I think that's still way too high for a lot of reasons. For one, Alvin Kamara was told before any of the suspension work happened that he was the starter now. He was going to be used more consistently in the offense. He was going to get more snaps, and that Mark Ingram had been downgraded. So I think that's a boost for Kamara. I think that's obviously a knock against Ingram. Obviously for Ingram, he has been suspended. There's a lot of new faces that were brought in. Obviously they signed Terrence West, and I don't think Terrence West is even remotely the running back that Mark Ingram is. So I think that this is even a bigger boost to Alvin Kamara, and that they're going to use Terrence West as kind of like a maybe north-south short yardage type situation guy who he was very bad at that last year if you look at the stats and the averages. So, I mean, I think that Alvin Kamara, and we talked about this when Mark Ingram first got suspended, I think Alvin Kamara's position just got secured more than anything. Now, is he going to be a guy who can touch the ball 300 times? Heck no, not even a little bit. But I think he's going to be very explosive, and I think his floor got a massive raise, and his ceiling we already know is sky high. So, I mean, I don't know if I would take him there, so yeah, maybe I agree he might be going just a little too high just because of the risk factor, but I mean, the range of possibilities is that he could easily be the number 1 running back in fantasy, so I don't necessarily think that he's a bust where he's going. I think that he, with the loss of Mark Ingram for a couple games, and the fact that Mark Ingram, it's his contract year, he's suspended, he's now a backup, and all this other stuff going on, I think that Alvin Kamara is the guy to get for sure. I don't think he's bust-worthy, where I think Mark Ingram is the absolute bust. I don't think he's worth drafting before double-digit rounds, especially with other running backs being brought in and him missing some time. So, this is where it's kind of polarizing, I guess, because, going into the season before Mark Ingram got suspended, I was in your camp, Jason, 100%. But with the way it shifted now I'm much more in the Alvin Kamara is going to be good this year camp. So, CJ, what are your thoughts?
Well, I always knew that. It's definitely after last season that Kamara was going to be gold in this offense. Just how Sean Payton was drooling over him during the draft process, and especially what he did in the season. But so I kind of think it was it was very rare to see Mark Ingram do what he did last year. So kind of figure out from how your bust on Mark Ingram. So I'm not too concerned on Mark Ingram dipping into Kamara's production, I think that we're probably going to get back to seeing how Sean Payton normally would treat Mark Ingram before Mark Kamara gets there. You know, how for some reason, he's a good back, but he doesn't get used. I think Sean Payton's going to realize, oh, yeah, you know what? I hate this guy. So let me not use him and go back to using the small guy, which is good. But I do agree with you, Griffin, as well, as far as where you're taking him. I mean, I really like the guy. I would not take him that high in the first round. I'm a little concerned about that. But overall production, I think his production grants him being a first round pick. But I don't know if I can take him 7.
I mean, it's risk aversion. So I'll throw this out to you guys then. So, Jason, you're saying he's a bust. When is the earliest you would take him?
For Alvin Kamara, end of the second round.
End of the second. So he's going about a round too high. So it's, but I mean, yeah, first round, that could be considered a bust. Yeah. I would take him if he's still there. Yeah. Late in the first, and it's a short turn before I come back around. I can maybe go 1-2 at running back. Yeah, I would take him in the end of the first. I'm okay with that. And depending on how I'm building my team, and obviously league format in a PPR league or in a half point per reception, even he gets an even bigger boost for me. I could. You know what? I could justify taking him with the 7th pick because, I mean, it's a risk. He's a riskier pick than some of the guys around him, but I think that he is in a position to probably pretty easily return on that value, provided he stays healthy. So I could be okay with where he's going right now. So, and CJ, same question to you.
I would take him late first and mid second. That's me.
In that range? Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
All right, so bust depending on your definition of bust. But yeah, I mean, obviously it's something to be concerned about, but there's a lot of narratives that can support both arguments. With that, I mean, we talked about my guy, Mark Ingram. I think he's definitely a bust. Would you guys take him before double-digit rounds?
I might. Not very much before double-digit rounds, just because I would have before.
No, beforehand, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. With the suspension, yeah, you definitely got to knock him down a few rounds.
Yeah, third, fourth round was where I thought he was going to be going pre the suspension, and before all this news was coming out about how he had been demoted. And we always like to joke and say we don't know what it is about Mark Ingram because he's good statistically. He's good. He's good on paper. He's good to watch. Yet it's always like he kicked Sean Payton's dog, and Sean Payton just hates this guy. So
here's the other thing that I don't take those rumors that he was downgraded. I take those with a grain of salt because every depth chart I have seen had Mark Ingram as the number 1 guy. And not only that, Sean Payton's not a moron. You don't mess with what works. And last year they were the best rushing team in the league. So saying, well, they're going to downgrade him and all sort of stuff, I don't think that was going to happen. I think that was just hype. I don't because I didn't hear Sean Payton come out and say that himself. I didn't hear anybody from the New Orleans Saints organization say that.
They're never going to come out and say it. I mean, that's just
exactly.
That's the years before that. They'll be like, so what's going on with Mark Ingram? Oh, he's a guy, and he still never uses.
I mean, all the depth charts we have right now.
You go get Tim Hightower for some reason. You got a good, capable back that he's doing this stuff that he did last year. This dude could have been doing that the years before that. I mean,
I agree with you.
That's the thing.
Well, but that's the thing too. Like these depth charts are put together by insiders and leaks and beat writers and stuff, and so that's how we kind of are able to piece it together. They don't have to give us an official depth chart until way down the line from now.
Of course.
If you look at certain websites, they still say Mark Ingram's the starter. So I mean, how do you defend that? So it's one of those things where we were hearing that Alvin Kamara was going to be the starter, and from a number of sources, triple sourced it. So it's that's what I was believing. So we'll see. But let's move on. CJ, your turn. Give me a guy.
My guy. Well, I'll keep it on the running backs trail. I'm gonna do Lamar Miller. Here's my thing. I know Griffin. I know this is your guy.
Shots fired.
This is your guy. I know this is your guy. But listen, man. Look, the writing's on the wall with Lamar Miller in the Houston Texans. Man, right now, this is how I'm seeing how this thing's gonna go up. Lamar Miller, he got Devontae Foreman in the backfield. He's coming back off of injury, but if he can stay healthy, I see him getting a big role in this offense. They really didn't address the offensive line like that, and Lamar Miller was starting to show himself, a little bit, especially when my man Watson was in full force. He wasn't really being that productive in this offense, man. I think they want a bigger back, more bruisier back, and I think that's what Devontae Foreman is going to be. So for me, when we're doing this segment right now, early, I got to say Lamar Miller is an early bust for me.
I agree with that.
Wait, where's he going right now? Did you write that down?
I have not looked that down. I was just going off of just where people were. I mean, I'm thinking that he's probably like a 4th round pick, but I'm
He's
like,
he's fourth pick in the 4th round.
4th round. Okay, there you go.
Oh yeah,
Just
fourth
off the
pick in the
top.
4th round. I would totally grab Lamar Miller in the 4th round for my running back
Of
too,
course
maybe
you
a
would.
flex position.
Of course you would.
Are
You
you
love
kidding?
this dude.
Of course you
Love
would.
this
Are
guy.
you kidding? I disagree that he's going to be a bust as a 4th-rounder. Okay, look, I understand where you're coming from, but bottom line, this guy with the Texans the last 2 years, he's not quite lived up to what he did in Miami, but he's still been pretty decent. Really, his yardage has been there. His rushing totals have been higher than they were in Miami. He just hasn't been getting the touchdowns, and it's because the offense he's been on has been mostly anemic, except for when they had Deshaun Watson there for a period of time. Now they're going to have Watson back. Lamar Miller is there for another year. He's getting up there in touches and carries and age, but he's still really not that old. He's only 27. So, I mean, I'd say he's still pretty much in the prime of his career. Foreman, who you talk about behind him, is coming off an Achilles injury. I don't think he's going to be ready by week 1. I think he's going to be sprinkled in throughout at least the first half of the season. I think Lamar Miller's in a great position to have at least a consistent year with what he's been having, which has been around a running back 2, which in the 4th round, I mean, that's what you're looking for in the 4th, is a flex option running back 2 type guy. I think he has week to week running back 1 upside, especially because they're not going to be able to stack the box with Deshaun Watson just slinging the ball back there. So I would disagree with you on that one, CJ. I think that Lamar Miller is not a bust in the 4th. If he was going in the 2nd, 3rd round, yeah, probably. But as a mid 4th rounder, I'm okay with that value. But Jason, you said you agree?
I agree that he's got the opportunity. Look, okay, first off, these are bust candidates. These are not people we're saying are absolutely going to bust.
No,
okay?
absolutely. That's the debate. That's the
I agree with CJ's assertion that Lamar Miller has a very good chance to bust this year. If you look at the last 2 years, he's averaged 4 yards a carry and 3.7 yards a carry. That is not inspiring. 238 carries last year. He only got 888 yards. So his yard, you keep saying his stats have been there. They really haven't. I mean, if he's going to be the starter, he needs to get me more than that. He needs to get me more yardage than that, and especially given the fact that this is his make or break year. This year is his make or break because we thought they were going to go out and get themselves one of these stud running backs. They didn't. They put the ball in Lamar Miller's hands. That's a good thing. That gives you the opportunity to get some production out of him, to get him on the field more often. But Deontay Foreman is breathing down his neck, and when he does come back from that Achilles injury, he may leapfrog him, especially given Lamar Miller's history of getting hurt.
Look.
I know. He's
it,
inviting you over to dinner tomorrow. It's
Don't
okay.
take it personally.
No, I'm not.
You can still go over there and yet be critical about
you
the guy.
guys. You know what? You can pass on him and just let him push him down to me. I'll get him later.
Yeah,
But
we definitely will.
But look, okay, how do you say his stats haven't been there? I mean, he's still been catching the ball consistently with numbers that rival what he did in Miami, if not exceed. His rushing attempts have been in the 260, 238 were the 2 years he's been there. His average has gone down from about 4.5 to between 4 and 3.7, which is still higher than a lot of running backs around the league. There's some around the league that were only averaging like 3.2 last year, so 3.7 is not bad for an RB2 for fantasy. The big problem, obviously, you don't want that. The big knock is that instead of getting 8 rushing touchdowns his last 2 years in Miami, he's gotten 5 and then 3, which, again, I think is a part of the offense more than it is him. He's had to run against completely stacked boxes almost his entire time in Houston. He's not that big guy who's going to wear down a defense like that. He's a lateral, quick, shifty, stretch zone scheme running back, and I think they're going to be able to run that with him this year. I think this could be kind of the post-hype sleeper type year that he kind of breaks out. And now, I don't think he's going to be, 2nd, 3rd round return on value unless everything kind of hits just right, but I could see a world where he's totally worth a 4th round pick, and you'll be really happy you invested it. So, he'll be polarizing at that. Again, coming back from a torn Achilles that happened incredibly late in the year, I'm not worried about Foreman, at least not at the start of the year. Maybe it's more of a committee later on, but by that point, maybe Lamar Miller has a couple of really big weeks, and then you trade him. Who knows? Let's move on. Who went first? Jason, you went first. You go next.
Oh, all right. Again, someone I'm going to get a flack for because I've actually gotten flack for this guy already because of the stuff I said about him last year. Christian McCaffrey, running back out of Carolina. Now, look, I was ready to say Christian McCaffrey was going to have a good year until they went out and got C.J. Anderson. When they did that, I said, okay, that's enough of that, and I dropped him down my board. C.J. Anderson, if he stays healthy, is going to get the lion's share of the touches. He's going to be the first and second down back. We know he can also catch the ball out of the backfield. So he's going to eat into that production. Plus the fact that Christian McCaffrey is on a team that has a quarterback that has to run. He has to run. He's going to snipe touchdowns that could go to Christian McCaffrey. So the fact is he's being taken ninth in the second round. That's too high in my opinion. For a third down back, I would take him much lower than that.
I think for the first time, I mean, I don't know about CJ. I'm not going to speak for him, but I definitely agree with you here. Christian McCaffrey, and we've gotten some flack for this already with our early rankings, but I think what a lot of people aren't realizing is exactly that. CJ Anderson is in the house now. CJ Anderson, when healthy, has been very, very good in this league. And this is a team that has not been the most outstanding offense. And to top it all off, like you mentioned, Cam Newton, very much a running quarterback who has been known to vulture rushing touchdowns at the in the 10 zone, in the red zone, at the goal line. Cam Newton could end the season with the most rushing touchdowns. Now, I know Christian McCaffrey's more of the pass-catching back, but, I mean, we're still talking about, therefore, a guy who's not getting a very good floor. We all thought, I don't think we all thought. I think a lot of people thought that, okay, well, Jonathan Stewart's gone. Christian McCaffrey is going to get all that volume. He's going to be an awesome, number one running back. We all knew that was going to be the case. And even if it was the case, Cam Newton was still going to run the dang ball. So C.J. Anderson being there is very concerning. Obviously, Cameron Artis-Payne is there as well, a guy that they definitely like. I just don't see a way that Christian McCaffrey returns on a third-round value. Maybe his ceiling is there, but I think his floor is much lower than that. I think
second-round value.
I think it's he's second round? I thought you said third. Oh, holy crap.
No, nine in the second.
Ooh, even more so. There's no way to me he returns on a second-round value. Is it possible? Maybe, but the risk is way out. That's way riskier than I'm willing to invest in the second round. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah. Agreed.
CJ, what are your thoughts? I'll just leave it there.
Well, listen, I definitely agree with you. I definitely agree with you guys. I mean, I like Christian McCaffrey this year, man.
Oh, yeah, as do I.
A sleeper. He was a sleeper guy for me, especially with North Turner's offense. But yeah, man. You're looking at a situation now with C.J. Anderson being there that you're probably going to get like the Devontae Freeman and the other Coleman situation going on there. You know what I mean? So, if they play anything like them, they're probably going to go with the bigger back, and the bigger back it being C.J. Anderson being the more bruisier back. And unless McCaffrey puts on some weight and be able to get some bulk on him, he's going to be the odd man out, and he's going to be that third down back and be able to do option routes. But I mean, staying on topic with this, I definitely agree with you, but I do still like Christian McCaffrey. I do expect him to have a good year this year, though. I don't think he's going to return for a second round.
When would you take him?
I would be looking for McCaffrey probably about third or fourth round.
I mean, should we come up with like consensus that like maybe if they're going maybe 2 rounds earlier than we think they should, that's bust at that point? Because I don't know what.
I mean, for McCaffrey, I mean, if like what's the second round, the ninth pick. If he doesn't put up, okay, I would say like if he's not close to like a mid third, I wouldn't take him mid third. I would take him late third. So that's for me. But I mean, I agree with you. If it's somewhere close in the vicinity, at least 2 rounds. Yeah, I can say
it's just one of those things where he's not. We all agree he's not going to return on second round value, not safely at least. So but the term bust is thrown around so widely because it's that argument like, oh, I would never take this guy, and guys who are like projected.
I think that's for a different show because we can have a whole argument about that.
Well, no, I'm just kind of putting it out there so people, they don't come at us about it. A lot of times we'll see people who will talk about how, oh, I will never take that guy. Okay, well, it's a guy who's going in the third round on ADP. You're telling me you wouldn't grab him in the 15th round? And the answer is usually yes. So it's kind of that. Yeah. It's that statute of limitations. And at what point does the cost outweigh the pros and the cons? And so that's why with bust, it's a little bit in the eye of the beholder. But I think we all agree that when it comes to simply looking at it in a vacuum, Christian McCaffrey in the second round is very risky. So we'll just leave it there.
You take DeMarco Murray in the 15th, CJ?
Jason, do not do that.
Don't make him answer it. Okay, he's the starter on a team somewhere, CJ. 15th round, DeMarco Murray. What do you do?
15th round, last pick in the 15th?
I will literally stay on this phone and say nothing
he,
if you
he
don't move on.
he
If you
will
don't move
wait
on,
out the end of the show.
I'll take that as a yes.
I will
He'd
be
do
like
it too.
every heel I know in WWE can come out there. I was like, I will stay down here unless I get what I want.
I could totally see you do that. Okay, I'll go next. All right,
That's
so
how you end up in a match with Braun Strowman, man. Don't do that.
I
there
know,
you go.
right?
Next guy on the list is also a second rounder, and this guy's going as the 4th pick in the second round, and that is Old Faithful himself, LaShawn McCoy. Now, look, I know he's already
Poor
kind of
LaShawn.
downgraded. He's not a first rounder anymore. He's not going as one of the early running backs, but it's still second round is a very scary proposition for a guy like LaShawn McCoy who has a lot of wear and tear on him. I mean, holy hell. There are so many statistical trends that back up when a running back kind of falls off, and he's checking all of those boxes. 30 seems to be the average of when these guys fall off. He will be 30 before the year begins. 1,800 touches is usually where these guys kind of fall off. He's at 21, almost 2,200 touches. I mean, he has over 10,000 yards on him, which usually 10,000 yards is like a crazy threshold. So, I mean, there's just so many arguments about how this guy has just way too much wear on him, and also, I mean, he's not the biggest back either. Like these hits he's been acquiring over the years, he's been known to be a little injury prone. He's a smaller guy in this league, taking a lot of these hits. I don't know how long he's going to hold up, especially in an offense where he's going to be facing stacked boxes every single snap. Because what does he have behind him, throwing the ball, or I guess in front of him? A.J. McCarron. Not super scary.
Yep.
Josh Allen, a big work in progress. And then who are they throwing the ball to? Zay Jones, we think, who
Zay
we're
Jones.
hearing should be ready by training camp, but we'll see where his head's at. He has to make a big step in his sophomore year. Kelvin Benjamin, who has shown that without an unbelievable amount of volume, he can't even give you a good floor. And then behind them, I bet you our listeners can't name 3 wide receivers behind them. Maybe I bet you a lot of them can't even name one. So, I mean, it's a lot of just – and you guys are super smart out there. I want to point that out. So think about the casual listener, the casual fan. So, I mean, this team has almost nothing. The only other option they have on this offense, which I like, is Charles Clay. But, I mean, he's not going to be someone that you can load the offense on. They are going to stack the box against LaShawn McCoy. He's going to be facing these crazy boxes, and they're going to be forcing A.J. McCarron or Josh Allen to beat them with their arms. And even then, I think secondary is going to match up well against these pass catchers. The Bills, and I'm sorry, Bills fans, I don't want to harp, and I know this is honestly kind of crazy to be this down on a team that did make the playoffs. I mean, they limped in backwards, but they made the playoffs last year. For analysts around the league to be this down on this team, but when you look at the pieces, there's no denying it. Their offensive line, by the way, is garbage. They need offensive line help like you couldn't believe, and some of their best pieces they had to let go. So I just don't see a way that LaShawn McCoy is a safe bet in the second round. I honestly would not feel comfortable taking him until maybe even fifth round. I might grab him, and
Wow.
he'll never be there. But you just have to look at what's around him. And even then, I'm buying into LaShawn McCoy at that point. I'm not buying into the team or the offense. I'm buying into the player, who I truly expect to be close to done. And I expect to probably get hurt at some point this year because he's going to acquire so many hits this season. He's going to put this team on his back, and he might throw his back out in the process, is the way it is. So, I don't know. CJ, you're a big LaShawn McCoy fan. Am I crazy here? What are your thoughts?
You know, you're not crazy. I mean, 5th round, that's pretty harsh. But I mean, I do understand where you're coming from, though. I mean, it's just a bad situation right now. I mean, to me, I think this team, if they wanted to do right by him, they would have traded him. You know what I'm saying? They would try to get him on a team that, it's at least a contender. Because right now, it's just a waste of talent on a franchise right now that is rebuilding. And that, unfortunately, he has to, suffer and waste another good season probably of his career on this non-existent, non-going anywhere franchise at the moment, at the time. But I wouldn't wait to the 5th. I probably would take him I'll probably take him like, late 3rd, maybe mid 4th. That's for me for LaShawn McCoy.
And I mean, I don't fault you for that. I mean, it's it's Shady McCoy.
Yeah, it's Shady McCoy.
But, I mean, all the numbers are pointing towards the fact that 5th round might even be high because who knows if he gets 4 or 5 good games this season. We don't know. Maybe he gives you a full 16, but I would say that the evidence is to the contrary. I don't know. Jason, what are your thoughts?
fifth round. I agree with you. It's unfortunate because I really do like Shady McCoy as well. But I mean, and it's not. And Griffin made a really good point, guys. This is not us saying these are bad players. This is us saying the situation they're in is not conducive to them getting points for you on your fantasy team. That's what we're saying. So when we say Christian McCaffrey, blah blah blah, now we're not saying he's trash. Okay, because that seems to be what a lot of people were thinking. We love LaShawn McCoy. Everybody on this show likes LaShawn McCoy. He is a fantastic running back.
Yep.
He is on a bad team.
Yep.
He is on a team that is going to be contending for the first overall pick in the 2019 NFL draft. So
possibly
that is not someone that you want to put a high draft pick on when you could pick somebody who's in a better situation, who has a lesser known name but can get you more points.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. LaShawn McCoy, some guys going around him. Dalvin Cook. Yes, please.
Yeah, you got to take Dalvin Cook.
Melvin Gordon. Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Huh.
Yeah.
Devontae Freeman. Yes, please. Joe Mixon. Yes, please. So, I would take probably all those guys over LaShawn McCoy because I don't feel like they have as much of a risk. So,
right.
And
Yeah,
that
I
I
agree.
just don't see him returning there. So I'm sorry. I love LaShawn McCoy. I really do. I've used him on many a fantasy team over the year, and he, barring injury, has not really ever disappointed me. I just don't see it. I don't really like what's his name? Brian DeBole as offensive coordinator, Sean McDermott. I mean,
Yeah. They're in a bad
What do you
way.
guys
They're in a bad
think?
way. Bills fans, I'm sorry, but you guys are in a bad way right now.
Yeah. I just feel like the Buffalo Bills are desperately trying to retool when they really need to blow it up and rebuild. So, I just
Completely
I
agree.
don't know. We'll just leave it there. I don't want to harp on this, Bills fans. I know you're going to get mad and you're going to come at us and you're going to send us angry tweets, and we don't want that. We're just trying to be realistic, but it's just the way that it looks from the outside looking in, and a lot of people, a lot of analysts, a lot of NFL writers, reporters, a lot of just people around the industry. Most people are saying that if the Bills get 4 wins this year, it'll be shocking. And I mean, I don't want to say that I agree with them, but I kind of agree with them.
Agree with that.
So yeah, CJ, you're next guy.
All right, my next guy. Look, I'm gonna just go throw Tube in there because I mean we did talk about this. I mean it's the same team. So Kevin Benjamin, that's another early bust for me. Same situation like you talking about. The team's nothing.
Yeah.
Quarterback, offensive line. He's going in the 9th round. I mean, if you can take a shot at him if you want to, but that's my take. But my real one I'm gonna go with is and this is another guy that this show likes. Saying we like his personality. He was all hyped up when he came to this team last year, man, coming to Oakland and everything, man. Do it for the city. But Marshawn Lynch, this is an early bust guy for me, man. Here's a couple reasons why, man. One, I really think John Gruden is in love with Doug Martin. And right now, this organization, they got a lot of other scat type backs that are younger and that, shown that they can be a lot more healthier, man. So I don't know where he's going to fit in this offense like that, or if John Gruden is going to give him even the opportunity to be that guy, man. I think that he's got Jordy there. You got Martavis Bryant going on right there. You're hoping for a bounce back year for Derek Carr, man. I just don't know if this is going to be a good year for Marshawn Lynch. I'm kind of concerned. I think he's going to be early bust. Right now, he's going in the sixth round, the 3rd pick. I mean, you could take a shot, but for me, I'm a little leery about that.
I'm going to throw this to Jason since he's the biggest Marshawn Lynch fan.
Yeah,
in
he
the
loves
room.
him. He loves this guy. He
Yep.
loves him.
And I think I spoke about Marshawn Lynch when we were talking about mid-round values. If he's available in the 6th round, I'm taking it. I think that Marshawn Lynch is your best running back in that backfield. I don't trust Doug Martin. We've already seen that with Doug Martin. This is the thing. If you're just talking about physicality, if you're just talking about, is he a big enough back? Is he a fast enough back? That's one thing. But with Doug Martin, you're talking about motivation. You're talking about a guy who, if he's not motivated, he is not a very good football player. And that is a problem for me. I don't like players like that. I want a player that is going to bleed to get yards. And that's not Doug Martin in my mind. So I think Marshawn Lynch is that kind of a player. I think that he fits this offensive mindset that John Gruden has. And I think he's going to end up being your starter.
I mean, I completely agree. I think he's going to be the starter, but where there's smoke, there's fire. And all we've been hearing about is, this competition behind him. We all know that John Gruden is a fan of Doug Martin. I don't necessarily think that Doug Martin holds a candle to Marshawn Lynch, especially in their primes. But Marshawn Lynch is 32. What was he? You know, he just turned 32, so he'll be 32 through the season. But he's also got a lot of wear on his tires. He didn't have a great year last year by any stretch of the imagination. But what we saw was that when he finally started getting fed the ball later in the season, he started to be productive. So it's just one of those things where I feel like John Gruden's going to see that, and he wants to do old-school style power-running football. At least that's the narrative we're hearing from the team. I could see a world where Marshawn Lynch is productive this year. Now, injury is a concern for me because he's up there in age, but I don't know. It's a very compelling and very polarizing backfield. We talked about this in great length just the other day because you could easily make the narrative that Marshawn Lynch is finally on a team with a system that complements what he does. But you can also make the narrative that he's over 10,000 yards in his career. He's well over that 1,800 attempts. He's at 2,300. He's at more than LaShawn McCoy. You know, he's going into his 12th season, I think it is. He's 32 years old. I mean, you can make an easy argument one way or another. But you could also add to the fact that this is his swan song. This is his final year in his contract, and he's probably going to retire after this. So maybe he leaves it all up there on the field. I don't know. Marshawn Lynch, where'd you say he was going, CJ?
He's going right now, the 6th round, 3rd pick.
I would invest that value in him, I think. Is it a risk? Yeah, definitely. But I think I would invest that value in him. I wouldn't say he's a bust there, because by that point you're in the middle rounds and you're looking for upside. And I think the floor is high enough to justify it. Though, I mean, obviously there is plenty to be concerned about because it could easily go the other way. And this is why he's going to be polarizing. He might slip down drafts. He might be taken way earlier than this on name value alone. So it's going to be interesting to watch Marshawn Lynch, that's for sure. Jason, your next guy.
Jerick McKinnon, running back, San Francisco.
We'll do one last of a round because we're running out of time. We'll do the rest on Patreon.
Yep, absolutely. He's averaged 3.8 and 3.4 yards per carry in the last 2 years. That's not good. I think Joe Williams is going to get an opportunity. He's been kind of quiet. No one's been talking about Joe Williams. But remember, this guy was a draft pick we really liked last year. He hasn't gotten his opportunity because he got injured early. And honestly, I'm just not all that enamored with Jerick McKinnon. He's going first in the 3rd round. I think that is way too high for Jerick McKinnon. And I think he has an opportunity to not even start. So he could definitely be a bust.
Oh, man. So
Around.
anyone who's followed the show for any period of time, especially this offseason, knows that I am not a big Jerick McKinnon fan. I don't like what he put down on game tape. I don't like what he's done with various opportunities he had in Minnesota to be the number one guy. He's gotten a number of chances. He's failed to do it, whether it was behind Adrian Peterson, whether it was behind Dalvin Cook, which, you know, he was supposed to be the starter. Then they went out, they drafted Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook won that job outright, easily. And then Jerick McKinnon came in and was not nearly as good. Latavius Murray was fine. Jerick McKinnon was a nice rotational piece. Now, he then goes out there and he gets stupid money. He's got about, $12 million he's going to make this year with all of his incentives. Most running backs in this league only make 5 to 6 if they're really good. So, I mean, obviously the elite ones get a little bit more, but $12 million freaking dollars. He signed a 4-year, $30 million contract, which is why I think Jerick McKinnon's job is secure. I love Joe Williams. I think Joe Williams is going to compete for time and touches behind him, but I don't think that there's a fear, at least to start the season, that he's going to supplant him. I think that McKinnon's going to be given every opportunity. Then it's going to be between Joe Williams and Matt Breida for touches behind him. Now, that being said, would I invest, a 3rd-round pick in Jerick McKinnon? No, because I'm not a believer. Though I will also counter that by saying if there's one guy who I think can maybe get him to go, it's Kyle Shanahan, who went out there and he paid all this money to get him. Now, this could be a number of things. This could be that the 49ers had a crap ton of money to work with. Yeah, easily. Could be that they wanted to front-load the contract in case that he was a bust and they wanted to have the flexibility to move on from him. I think that's probable. So, but bottom line, $12 million a year for running back. He's going to be given first, second, and third opportunity to make this happen. So that's why I think that if you're looking for a floor play, Jerick McKinnon is probably safe, but I think that he will most likely be a bust because I don't think that he's going to get the job done. I don't know, but plenty of people are buying in. It's Kyle Shanahan offense. So, CJ, what do you think?
Yep.
I mean, Kyle Shanahan is the big reason I really like Jerick McKinnon this season, just because just picturing him doing in that offense, man, I really trust Shanahan. But
he's supposed to play the Devonta Freeman role based on everything we're
hearing.
So.
All that, man, sounds wonderful, and I'm all about that. But I'm definitely not drafting him in the 3rd round. I mean, that's just I'm just not doing it.
First
But
pick in
you
the
know,
third, basically a second rounder.
yeah,
Good lord.
yeah, I'm not doing that, and I like it. I like the situation, but I'm not doing it. I'm not drafting him like that. I will definitely pick him up if he's there. I will definitely pick him up in the 5th round because I think that's good value right there, and I'll take a shot at that. But
I would take a shot in the 5th, yeah, but there's
Yeah,
no
yeah,
way
yeah.
first pick in the 3rd that I'm pulling the trigger on
Yeah.
Jerick McKinnon. There's just no way.
No, and as far as this Joel Williams thing is, I mean, look, you guys are really big on him. You know, I'm not. I'm really not. I gotta see it. I gotta see it right now. I mean, right now, I think it's just all hype. I just need to see. I just need to see the production. When he gets out there and he's healthy, he can put together a couple games for me and show me, you know, that he's worthy of being talked about, like all these analysts are talking about. Then I'll be all in. But right now, you know, not really into it.
It's funny because it's the narrative that surrounds Joe Williams, especially. Besides, he was good in college, but it's the narrative that really supports him. How they, you know, we talk about this all the time. Kyle Shanahan banged the table to go get this guy. Well, clearly he banged the table to go get Jerick McKinnon as well. So I just don't know. But based on game tape and what I've seen in the past, that's why I'm not a believer in Jerick McKinnon. But if somebody could do it, it's Kyle Shanahan. But I'll probably let someone else take that shot, which is why I think that I lean more towards the fact that he'll bust than anything. I think. Most likely, this will be a committee when it's all said and done. Which 3rd round, that's not what you want in the 3rd. Oh man, who do I want to talk about? So I've got time for one more. Oh man, do I want to talk about Derrick Henry or, spoiler alert, Deshaun Watson? Who do you guys want me to talk about? I kind of want.
I want to hear what you say about Derrick Henry.
I really want to. Okay, so
because I already know about Deshaun Watson.
Yeah,
it's sustainable.
Yeah, plus many other things. So yeah, well, I'll save Deshaun Watson for the Patreon. But Derrick Henry.
You know what?
Holy
Actually,
hell.
pause
Nope,
that.
I've already.
Go to Kenyon Drake. I want to hear about that.
Will you stop tipping my hat on all my other things? Save it for the post show or the Patreon. So Derrick Henry. There you go. Now they've got a lot of spoilers to go out there and check out.
There you go.
Derrick Henry, a guy who is so. Let's go over the whole. Well,
You gonna make a point here at some point?
I was. Well, here's the thing. I was gonna dive right in.
You having an aneurysm?
No.
What's happening?
I was gonna dive right into it, and then I was like, wait, maybe I should start from the beginning. So that's kind of why I backpedaled. So we all know the narrative. You know, DeMarco Murray, CJ's favorite player in the entire NFL, is no longer with the Tennessee Titans. So the narrative going into the offseason was, holy hell, Derrick Henry. He is going to be a monster. He is going to be an unbelievable pick. Everyone go grab Derrick Henry, 1st-round pick. Well, then the team went out and they got themselves Dion Lewis, the arguably most expensive running back out there, who has been a proven 3-down running back. I don't see a way that Dion Lewis, who was incredibly elusive, very productive, good in pass catching, pass blocking, and running the ball, moving the chains. He's good in the red zone. I mean, his biggest knock against him is he's got an injury history, but Dion Lewis has proved that he's more consistent than Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry also, I mean, yeah, when you look at the end of the year, 4.2 yards per carry on average, but if you look at him over the course of the season on a per-snap basis, he was actually really, really bad. We all hear this narrative about how he was this amazing bruising back. Well, he was actually bottom of the league in 3rd-down conversions and conversions. I mean, he only got 5 rushing touchdowns last year, guys. In fact, 2 of the worst running backs in the league were Derrick Henry and DeMarco Murray. Could that be because they were vulturing from each other? Yeah, except for this is a per-snap basis. So that's just the Tennessee Titans as a whole. Now, they've made changes. I'm not changing that, but Dion Lewis being there massively deflates Derrick Henry. Dion Lewis is a guy you could get much, much later in drafts, and Dion Lewis is a guy who might have a much, much higher floor than Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, I think, could be very easily touchdown dependent. So to be grabbing this guy in the late 2nd round, that's just not something I'm willing to invest because that's way too boom bust for a guy who, I mean, if I'm drafting him there, is probably going to be my number 1 running back unless I'm going running back. I just don't know. I would much rather do the whole, when the first one goes, target the next one, and get Dion Lewis, who's going, I think if I remember correctly, in the mid-6th round, who I think could end the year higher than Derrick Henry. So to me, that's just a huge bust potential because the 2nd round, you're looking at workhorse guys and guys who have a completely safe floor with a high ceiling, and I don't think he has much of a floor to stand on. I don't know. There's a lot more that I can get into, but we're almost out of time, so I'll just throw it to you guys. What are your guys' thoughts on Derrick Henry?
I mean, I really like Derrick Henry. I think
I know
this
you
is
do.
going to be his year. You know, I've said that multiple times. But you know, and I hate to keep bringing up this example, man, but I really think this really mimics what happened in Atlanta a couple years ago, man. I can see Deion Lewis being that Devontae Freeman role, getting the yardage and receptions and receiving yards, all that stuff like that. And then you had those games where Coleman gets into the red zone and he was getting the touchdowns. So, you know, they basically were feeding off each other and yet taking away from each other at the same time. I'm under the assumption that Henry is going to be that dude. He's going to be that guy. You know, Deion Lewis is going to have his role, but I still think this is an offense that can be able to, you know, complement each other on both backs, where it's not going to be a situation where, you know, it's going to hurt you. So you pick one or the other. So, you know, kind of like Oakland a couple years ago with Cooper and Crabtree. You know, they both had their time to shine, but you know, we all liked Crabtree a lot better. That's kind of how I'm feeling with this Titan situation.
But my
And
point is,
but I agree with you though. The second round, no, I'm not going to get in the second round.
I mean, yeah, but Deion Lewis there, I think that he just naturally fits a Matt LaFleur offense because he can do all three phases. He can do it all. Where Derrick Henry is very transparent that they want to use him as a short yardage goal line back, which he was not very good as a he was bottom 5 in the league in third down conversions last year, which is insane for this guy who's 6'3", 247 and just supposedly explosive, but he was stuffed regularly and he was not very good per attempt. His average is skewed by the fact that he had a couple broken plays when games are already over that he was able to pick up large chunk yards. You take those out, which I know you really can't, but he was not very good. I just, and also in his career, in his entire NFL career, he has 24 receptions. So he's clearly not going to be used in third down work, and I just think that Deion Lewis is a natural fit there. Now, can Matt LaFleur probably find a way to make both these guys work? Yeah, I would say so. I mean, he's worked with some of the best offensive minds in the league, but I just don't see it. I think Derrick Henry's floor is very low. I think he's going to be touchdown dependent, and that's what's scary. I don't think he had 176 attempts last year. I think that's probably around what he's going to get this year. I don't see him breaking the 200 rushing attempt threshold. Jason, what do you think?
Well, I said it a couple of shows ago, and I'm sticking by it. I am buying in on Derrick Henry this year. I think that this is his year. He's getting his opportunity this year. Deion Lewis is good, but I don't think Deion Lewis is the answer. I think that he can't shoulder the load. He has never been in a situation where he's got to be the only guy, the guy that shoulders the load. He's always been in some sort of a committee. So I think Derrick Henry, I think they want him to be the guy. I think they're going to try to get him the opportunity to be the guy, and I think he can. I think his catching ability out of the backfield has been underutilized by this team. They have not used it the way that they should have. Part of that is because they have a really good tight end that they throw short routes to. They don't really check down that often. And another fact is that Derrick Henry has had DeMarco Murray, who's been there, who's been getting the lion's share of the touches. I think that this year Derrick Henry has got a clear path to being the starter and will get the opportunity to show off how productive he can be as the number one guy. Now, the problem is, like you said, Deion Lewis is going to get paid. You know, they gave him money. He's coming in, so he got paid. So he's going to have to compete with Lewis for those touches. But overall, I think that Henry, this is his year. I think he has crazy upside, and he's going to get the opportunity to show that this year.
And this is why we could debate this all day, because, you know, you can make the whole narrative how Deion Lewis was one of the most elusive and best backs after contact in the league last year, where Derrick Henry was not, for being this big, explosive guy. I mean, the stats are skewed both, like, I think really to support my argument, but at the end of the day, you're looking at this massive back who's been in this system, well, not in the system, he's been with this team, new offensive coordinator Matt LaFleur coming in from the Rams. But I don't know. You could really look at this either way, but I think we can all, I mean, at least CJ and I agree. So I'll ask you, Jason, where would you take him? Because I will not be taking him in the second round. There's just no way.
Derrick Henry, I believe I said I would take him in the third round or the end of the second.
So you would take him about at the value he's going for. So not a bust for you.
Yeah.
Definitely a bust for me.
No.
And CJ, you said you would take him where again?
I would take him in the third round.
So not quite a bust for you either.
Mid third.
Not really a bust for you. Just a couple picks later. Okay. And is that around the horn, or do you need to do one, CJ?
I got to do one last one. My last one is Brandon Cooks, man. Right now, Brandon Cooks is going in the 4th round, the 6th pick. So here's the situation, man. You look at Brandon Cooks' career. Speedy guy. He's been in Sean Payton's offense, man. Had some good productive seasons there. Touchdowns, some good yardage. Say, even sometimes the touchdowns are say. Then you go from there to the Patriots. He didn't really pan out like I wanted him to do with the Patriots, man. You two guys called that, and we were saying, okay, what about year 2? But then this trade happens, and he goes to the Rams. So now you're going from Drew Brees, Tom Brady to Jared Goff. Now I've seen a lot of narratives out there, people saying, well, this is a high octane offense. Well, this guy is used to not high octane offenses. I mean, you coming from Sean Payton and Bill Belichick. And already know Tom Brady likes to throw the ball, so I don't see the what's the difference? What's the difference? What's going on here? So look, I trust Sharp McVay. I know that he's a brilliant offensive mind, but I do not trust Jared Goff. That's the only downside of this. I think right now we're gonna see. Look, Jared Goff, he had a great year last year, but I think we're really gonna see who he is this year, and I don't see him producing those same numbers that he did last year. So that's my downside with that, and of course, the quarterback is going to affect the receiver. So Brandon Cooks, 4th round, I'm going to pass on that.
He's going where in the 4th, did you say?
The 6th pick. The 6th pick in the 4th.
6th pick in the 4th. Middle of the 4th. Yeah, You could really make a structured argument going either way here, because I think that he will be the number 1 guy, but I think he's going to be doing what he's always done. He's going to be that outside guy who's going to run vertical routes and deep stretches and posts and all these other things. And I think he's going to let the rest of the offense really run underneath him, especially in his first year with Jared Goff, who we would all agree that is the worst of the 3 quarterbacks he's been with the last 3 years. Maybe the best offense he's been with, but probably the worst quarterback. He's on a prove-it deal, essentially. He was traded on the last year of his contract, hasn't signed a new one. I see a world where he does basically what he did last year, which is around 60 receptions, probably around 1,000 yards, maybe not 7 touchdowns, maybe 5 or 6. Which maybe that's worthy of a 4th round pick, but the bust potential is also very high because I think this is an offense that will most likely primarily funnel through Robert Woods doing everything else at intermediate, and then Brandon Cooks or Cooper Kupp, who's going to be working out of the slot, who's a massive slot receiver and obviously a great option in PPR. And let's not forget, and how could we, Todd Gurley, who's going to move this offense. So you could easily make an argument he's not going to get a floor to return on 4th round pick, but I think he has a ceiling that exceeds it. So I don't know if I would take him in the middle of the 6. So at that point, realistically, we're talking about he's probably going to be your number 2 wide receiver. Worst case scenario, your flex option. And so for your fantasy team, that doesn't sound appealing to you, CJ, as your number 2 receiver. If
he's my flex, then I will take him off this board because once again, I'm looking at the flex where it's upside. I'm not totally counting on you. I'm looking people the way these guys are talking. People are talking to him. He's like he's your 2nd wide receiver. As a 2nd wide receiver, I can't trust him as a 2nd wide receiver in this offense. I will take him at a flex, though. I will do that.
Okay, so but that's depending on how you draft. That could be the value of what where you're taking him. So it could maybe not be a bust, but it's something to be wary of.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I'm kind of torn on Brandon Cooks because I could see a narrative and he'll be polarizing. There are people who will be completely hands off, and there's people who are going to jump in on him here, or maybe even earlier. So, Jason, what do you think?
Yeah, new face, new place, lots of mouths to feed in this offense. Suddenly, definitely someone that I'm going to push down my boards. Now, as you said, he has the opportunity to return on that investment and be very, very good. He could take the top off the defense and get you some points, get you some touchdowns, those kinds of things. And Goff has the arm to get down the field. But as you mentioned, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Todd Gurley. I mean, you've got so many mouths to feed in this offense. It's a little bit scary. So yeah, I could see him busting at this value.
All right, so with that, let's see. We all have about 3 more guys to talk about. We'll push that to Patreon, but we have to get out of here. We are well over an hour at this point. So, yeah, we're gone, and we will see you guys on Tuesday, I think. And subjects up in the air. I'm shopping a few things, but I think it'll be a fun show. And I'll I'll leave it at that. If you want updates, head over to Twitter and follow us there at the FF Fanatics. I'll let you guys know ahead of time. If you want to follow us individually, though, I'm at GPalmerFFF, CJ's at CJ Hickman89, Jason at Jason Cabrera 13, and we will see you guys then. I hope everyone has a great weekend. Any parting thoughts, guys?
Yeah, man. Peace out, man. Y'all be safe out there.
Indeed. Jason?
And take care, guys. Have a good weekend.
All right. Well, we're out of here. Take care, guys. We'll see you then. I hope this was helpful. And remember, this was not, guys that, completely hands off. We're just giving you all the facts. Some of us think they're completely hands off with their value.
Early bus.
And of course, with a lot of the things we were saying here, there's a lot of speculation. We'll have clarity come August when we'll talk about this again. So, we'll talk to you guys later. Have a great weekend. See you then. Bye.
Oh, yeah. Incredibles 2. We'll check you out tomorrow.
Knock those kids out of my way. Get out of the way.
I know, right? Get out. You weren't even born when this movie came out. Get that cat here.